Hello everyone, and welcome to Hill Street. Today's story is Seattle's Best Underground Tour by Jam Franz. If you end up enjoying this story, please leave a like. And if you enjoy hearing stories from me, please subscribe and become a resident of Hill Street. And let me know how I'm doing in the comments. Now, let's get to this nightmare. Jody, my co-worker, really wanted to do a tour of the underground city when we were in Seattle together for a work conference. It was our last night, but I was hesitant. I was trying to save money, had spent way too much on souvenirs already, and the prices were hefty. Jody was familiar with the tour route. It was sort of an obsession of hers. She tried to visit every underground city or tunnel system wherever she went. So we considered just going on our own. We researched a bit though, and found that there was no way to legally enter without trespassing. The only entrances were through the tour company's building or other private residences. By the time I made up my mind, we only had a short window in which to catch the last tour. We made it to the tour company's building. The lights were off. The door was locked, but a young woman with her red hair in a loose bun was sitting inside, in the dark, at the desk. She lit up when she saw us, ran over, unlocked the door, just as we were turning to leave. "Hi, are you here for the tour? My name is Michelle. That's Michelle with a Y. You're just in time for the last tour of the night." She was young, dressed a bit warmly for the summer weather. She wore a unique necklace with a large rhinestone spider surrounded by small emerald hearts that she spun between her middle and forefinger with while she talked. Her dark green nail polish was chipped and scraped, and her fingers looked raw, scratched up. Despite her peppiness, there was an air of nervousness about her. Something didn't seem right. I just couldn't place it at the time. We walked down through the old brick tunnels, and I started to feel a bit claustrophobic. Every so often, we'd occasionally walk into more open spaces of arcing brick and sprawling platforms, and I felt like I could catch my breath. It was eerie down there. Part of me wished we had gone as part of a bigger tour group. Something about the three of us wandering around down here as the last tour of the night filled me with unease. It felt so empty around us that even the air felt heavy. Michelle was very knowledgeable and friendly, but something felt off about her. Every so often, she'd mutter something under her breath that I couldn't make out, turn around and smile at us. After about 30 minutes, Jody turned to me. "Hey," she whispered, gently stopping me while our guide walked on ahead. "This isn't the path they follow on the tour." I felt myself shiver at that statement. "Why are you just telling me now?" I tried to whisper back as calmly and quietly as I could. "Well, we started off in the right tunnels, but about 10 minutes ago we deviated. I wasn't entirely sure at first, but I am now." We quietly conferred. Where was she taking us? Was she planning to rob us? Something worse? If something happened, would anyone else know we were down here? I looked at my phone. No reception. Michelle was 5 foot, tiny, under 100 pounds. I was guessing, but that didn't mean she wasn't leading us somewhere where we would encounter someone or something much more dangerous. She eventually noticed that we had stopped following her. She turned around and looked at us as she fiddled with her necklace nervously. Her overly rehearsed smile had disappeared and something else had replaced it, an expression that I couldn't read. "Ladies, please follow me so we can continue the tour." She was drumming her fingers at her sides anxiously. We stared at her, unmoving. Jody cleared her throat, spoke much more confidently than I had felt. "Hey Michelle, I'm so sorry, but Carrie and I need to leave. I got a text from work. Our flight got changed to a red-eye, and we need to leave literally right now so we can catch it. This was a really great tour, so we'll be sure to leave you and the company a 5-star review." Michelle stared at us silently for a moment before telling us she knew for a fact that there was no reception down here. Her face was half hidden in the shadows now. Most of our walk had been through decently lit tunnels. She had started leading us into complete darkness. She approached us, her voice low. "We're almost at the best part of the tour. I need to show you something." I could hear movement coming from behind her. "No," I said, my voice wavering. "We're leaving," Jody echoed me, but stronger. Then she did something unexpected. She dropped the facade of confidence and she begged, Please don't leave me down here alone. I just want to go home," she whispered. I could see even in the limited light that her eyes were wet and she was close to tears. Something about her statement swayed me. After a few moments, I found myself moving forward into the darkness, following her. Jody looked at me like I had lost my mind. I just shrugged. She stood for a while, but eventually followed me. We both used our phone screens for illumination. Michelle had no phone or flashlight with her. She just kept striding forward into the darkness. I don't know why I kept following her. Maybe it was the new air of sadness about her, the way she had pleaded with us to stay. Home? Did she live down here? The illusion that we were on a normal tour had already been long gone. Our guide had stopped speaking long ago and was quiet except for the occasional whisper to herself as she navigated expertly in the dark. We walked for what felt like forever. It was colder down here. I could hear skittering, things moving around in the darkness. I glanced at Jody, wondering if I had made the wrong choice, if I had put us both in danger. Our guide's words, "I want to show you something," and "we're almost at the best part," were echoing in my head. At one point we walked through a more open space, but in the utter darkness, I was surprised to discover that I preferred the tight tunnels. It felt like almost anything could be lurking, just out of range of my light. We finally encountered a dead end in the form of a low, crumbling brick wall, and my heart pounded in anticipation. Our lights caught something. 4 small white points poking out of mortar between the lower bricks. I couldn't quite tell what it was, but wasn't willing to get closer. We probably should have turned around, but Jody, always the adventurous one, went towards it, and she started removing the more damaged bricks. She inhaled sharply, covering her mouth, and waved me over. She had found a skeleton, small, fragile looking, huddled in the fetal position, with remnants of rope around the ankles and wrist. What we had seen were small finger bones poking through the mortar between the bricks, as if the person had tried crawling their way out. A last attempt at escape. I felt sick to my stomach when I realized the implication. They were still alive when they were walled in down here. Our flashlights reflected on something shiny. I leaned in. It was a necklace, a very distinctive one with a rhinestone spider and emerald hearts. I spun around to where Michelle had been standing before and illuminated her small form in my flashlight. I had almost expected her to be gone. She was sitting cross-legged, her head in her hands, crying softly. Jody and I looked at each other. We understood now. After a while, she guided us back to the surface, silent except for the occasional sniffle. So many questions formed in my mind, but I couldn't bring myself to ask them. All I could think of was how young she looked. I couldn't imagine what it must have been like, dying alone, down there in the dark. Once we were back in the store, Michelle silently locked the door behind us, sat back down at the desk. We turned back, took one last look at the young woman, with tears streaming down her face. Jody and I reported what we found. We had already sort of assumed at that point, but the tour company did confirm that they didn't have an employee fitting Michelle's description. We guided authorities to her body the next morning, said we had gotten lost on the tour and found her. The investigation is still ongoing, but I'm so glad she won't be alone down there in the dark anymore.